Now we have Caleb Huxton.
Hi, yeah, I'm Caleb. Sorry I'm sitting. I'm a little bit taller and I'm not sure what this clicker is going to do. So thanks for those who have filled out the survey. Obviously, there is maybe some issues with the claim of live responses, but it's good for me to get to know a sense of the room because coming in, there were like 150 signed up, but obviously that doesn't meet the fire code. And so why don't we get into it? I'll bring this QR code up at the end or others, but let's see how this plays. So in the beginning, there was nothing. And then you were born, and there was only the unknown. You could not distinguish that you were separate from your mother. You thought the teat was a part of you. And then over time, you realized that there was an other that you were blind to. And so in this axis, we can imagine the things on the page left are unknown to others, and the things on page right are known to others. And eventually, as you grew older, you and your mother or your parents came to share some knowings. And Donald Rumsfeld would have called this the known knowns, and then going counterclockwise, the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. But that picture isn't complete. There's also the hidden area, and this completes the Johari window. It's one of my favorite models because it helps me or anyone relate to some other in what we know about each other or don't. And so how do I use this model? Wait, where's my mouse? I use this model by reflecting on what I learn, maybe through collaboration with people. So you add a PR to my review queue, and I might learn that you are a test-driven developer, that you prefer low context communication because your PR description has laid everything out for me. Now, if I were to reply, "Thar be dragons," you might interpret that I prefer high context communication and put the burden on you to figure out what I meant. But over time, through iterations and emerging cooperation, we can begin to share a certain amount of context together. But as some of us are Rubyists in this room, and all of us are dealing with AI, that's not the whole picture. We're not the only ones contributing to the ideas we need to maintain at work. And so the labs are dropping in new models, new harnesses, new capabilities, and DHH is dropping new gems and frameworks and deployment capabilities, and it's a lot to keep up with. We are in the midst, we are at the far asymptote of technopoly. Neil Postman's early 90s tome about how culture becomes defined by technology. And this creates a hill for us, a hill to climb. And the climb is arduous. It challenges our experience and expertise, which we have accumulated over years, because now we have a new way of working that's mandated. We have uncompassionate vendors sending subject matter expertise on a weekly or monthly basis to tell us we're using the tool wrong. Or we have token maxing, token count quotas, which if we aren't hitting, we are hitting the streets. And that's not the whole picture. A lot of managers, our technical achievements are often hidden to the management's view. And there isn't a downhill. New releases keep dropping. And so the climb never stops. And we still have code to review. And they may be yielding agents differently than you are and expecting you to take on more of the burden. So what do you do? Let me catch my breath. This is also a cue for me. We're going to do some box breathing. So breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Does that feel a little bit easier? For me, it does. So what do we do when we have to perform amidst anxiety? Dr. Kat Hicks is a quantitative psychologist, and she's releasing a new book. You can pre-order it by the end of the month, and delivering in like July. It's called The Psychology of Software Teams. And her work, her open science work, has focused on what it's like as a software developer. And one of her interventions, or one of the interventions that she collaborated with, is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy intervention, called the Code Review Anxiety Workbook. And so we're going to go through this workbook together and to illustrate how this empirically developed intervention works to relieve anxiety. And so it starts with rating your subjective distress. It's SUDS, I forgot the U. It's on a scale that I hope this font size works, from 10 to 0. And it's an empirically validated measure. There's a lot of internal consistency over time when you ask subjects to rate their SUDS under different conditions. And we can imagine that if I'm a little anxiety, I have a little anxiety, maybe not 10. This is not the highest I've experienced. Maybe I'm more of like an 8. And so the next step is, based on this reporting, we can choose a tip. TIP is a DBT, a dialectical behavioral therapy intervention, which focuses on reducing physiological arousal. And so if I had a sink nearby, I might be splashing my face with cold water. This would help reduce my anxiety. I had an idea to bring some heavy balls, call someone up and do some exercise, but maybe not for 30 minutes. And we did some paced breathing earlier with that box breathing exercise. And so in the workbook, you'd self-reflect, like, okay, well, how do I feel now? And if you can get into this orange zone, then you're ready to challenge biased thinking. And so because this is a code review anxiety workbook, we're bringing to it contexts from code review, like, I opened GitHub after lunch to find 12 comments on my PR. Oof. And what's at risk here is they believe that they're not measuring up, right? And so working alone and then getting that kind of volume of feedback can be disorienting. And so cognitive behavioral therapy is about challenging the way you think, and it's an active reflection process through writing. I've pre-filled this out for us in this scenario. And so you're prompted to write down your biased thoughts. Imagine this is a system prompting you to complete the next token. How am I doubting my abilities as an engineer? What am I worried will happen? And then you give each one of these beliefs a believability score, 0 through 100. Now, this might seem peculiar, but this is a validated instrument. And so if you're struggling, you can find these tools and try them out for yourself. The next step is to choose the thought you most strongly believe to be true. Maybe this one: my teammate thinks I'm incompetent. Why else would they leave 12 comments? But within the anxious mind, there is a disconnect with the perceptions of reality. Thinking traps sort of reinforce anxious thinking. And so if we hold in our if we hold to ourselves this strongly believed idea that we are incompetent, we might be able to find a thinking trap here. Assuming an action is directed to or because of oneself. They left a bunch of comments because they think I'm incompetent. That sounds about right. Personalizing. Let's evaluate that. Yeah, exactly. When you read 12 comments and assume your teammates think you're incompetent, that's personalizing. But what if we tried something else? What about catastrophizing? Let's evaluate that. No, that's not something catastrophic will happen. So this helps coach you through taking apart these thinking traps. It's a 10 to 15 minute process, so I'm going to try and speed it up from here, but the next step is to answer guiding questions and try and accumulate evidence for the whether the thought is realistic and true, and evidence against. And so here we can imagine someone is filling it out where comment count, I like the evidence against. Comment count is not a measure of incompetence. This was a complex, novel middleware that touches security critical paths. So it makes sense that you got so many comments. And this is a little bit small now, isn't it? Another way to undo that, those anxious thought patterns is to role play. So now imagine your best friend has come to you saying, my teammates think I'm incompetent. Why else would they leave 12 comments? To try and come up with a rational response for them. Fill it out and rate the believability. And then finally, check the impact of this exercise. You're re-presented with those thoughts and asked to rate them again after this experience. And hopefully they've come down for you. And then you can recheck your SUDs. Yeah, I feel a lot better now. And why am I even doing this? I'm anxious, I'm procrastinating, I can't get my work done. The work I have to do is I have to ask for a code review. Thank goodness it's still there. And so this can guide you, once your anxiety is low enough, to a proactive way of engaging. Come up with something that is at once vulnerable, honest, and helps you get your job done. Hey, would you be able to review the auth middleware PR? I'm not feeling fully confident about the token refresh expiry logic. So if you could pay extra attention there, it'd be a huge help. Really appreciate your time on this one. And so this is how you might reduce your anxiety over time, or well, over the time of this workbook, to be able to continue performing. But this isn't the only, so yeah, and then you get this workbook at the end. This isn't the only kind of, wait, hang on now. Yeah. So we just did a CBT exercise where we tried impacting the spiral of our physiological feelings affecting how we feel, how we think, and what we do. We tried intervening here so that we can get back to what we're supposed to do, which might be a code review, which might be giving or taking a code review. And so this isn't the only kind of, where's my mouse? Okay, here we go. This isn't the only kind of uncertainty we have to deal with. This uncertainty speaks to the uncertainty of how others perceive us or the work we've done, as in the case alone for a long time. There's, and so this is the classic uncertainty about yourself, whoa. And now we have to deal with the slop anxiety. The anxiety that the agents, without our careful attention, will have shipped a bug. Now let's see, what did I have queued up next? So let me check the room. Has anyone felt like slop anxiety? All right, yeah. And has anyone felt the exhaustion or stress from trying to climb that hill? Yeah, okay, so I'm not alone. I'm going to try and simplify things now, believe it or not. And because some of us are coders in the audience, I hope we can relate to this next topic. And so back in the day, in order to get a job, we might have been challenged to implement an algorithm called FizzBuzz. FizzBuzz takes a number, performs some business logic on it, and then outputs FizzBuzz, or the number itself. And so we can imagine in this day and age that a product manager or an excited developer might want to implement FizzBuzz with an LLM. Well, I don't know. Oh yeah, I remember why I did that. And so on the right, we have the same code path, but I've implemented a strategy to select an LLM implementation of FizzBuzz. But in this case, it's just a painted door. It doesn't do any inference. It responds with a base case. And so before LLMs, I managed uncertainty in my work of delivering software in complex systems by writing tests first. I have identified as a test-driven developer for just about as long as I've been coding, because a lot of that was alone and a lot of that was influenced by blogs. And the blog said, if you're a good coder, you wrote tests. And well, I mean, alone in my room, I had no other frame of reference. So, I mean, if I wanted to be a coder one day, I need to write tests first. And so on the right is a test, a mini test assertions test for FizzBuzz. And on the left is a representation of FizzBuzz as though this was being evaluated under the same rigors as we could. Oh wait, I've gone to kind of, sorry, I'm working on this presentation. Let me switch around just a little bit. Okay, so that's anxiety of FizzBuzz. Sorry. If you've read the Luma brief on my talk, I really set myself up for a doozy because there was a lot of stuff about how people feel, and I hope I've covered some of that. But then I talked about test-driven development, Andrew Ng's function approximators, and eval-driven development. Okay, so let's touch on Andrew Ng. So what I remember about Andrew, this is not Andrew Ng. What I remember about Andrew Ng is and his online class about machine learning is he referred to the work we were doing as training function approximators. So we saw a concrete, just a moment ago, we saw a concrete implementation of FizzBuzz. It wasn't very good, but it was a function that returned the string representation of an integer at least, right? And we knew that for sure. A multi-layer perceptron, a kind of neural network. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure what it's going to return, right? We have to train it. We have to train it over several, I don't know, generations, epochs. You have to grow a training data set, a test data set, a validation data set. You have to monitor it in production because it's not going to deliver FizzBuzz perfectly. The top is a neural network with 10 hidden units. But as you see, if you crank up the numbers, maybe on the same data set, you can get closer and closer to the reference. And so in this case, black is good. And so this machine learning, setting a goal and iterating towards that in a training loop, an evaluation loop. This is an empirical method, and it's hill climbing. And so what does hill climbing look? How can we adapt that analogy, that model of process, to our work with agents? Test-driven development. So we can see this image. This is run through the evaluation framework representing a a prompt, in this case, Ruby code, and the runs, in this case, two-stringing the integer. And because I made this one, I can help decode this a little bit better. So black is good, again. Blue is what it predicted. Blue is what it outputted. And red is what it should have. And so we can see 3, it needed to be fizz. 5, it needed to be buzz. And 15, it needed to be fizz buzz. And as we climb the hill on the right, we, test-driven developers, or agents in a sub-agent with a certain prompt or instructions, we might see an improvement. There's more black on that board. And in another iteration, even more black. And then we're done and we got the job. Thank goodness. AIs don't work that way. I prepared this in order to sort of make this connection between hill climbing, empirical methods, and so I took the time to do some prompt engineering, some hill climbing on FizzBuzz, getting a Llama 3.2, trying different ways of getting Llama 3.2 to do FizzBuzz. So this is the reference. And this is the first prompt. Is number a FizzBuzz number? Answer with FizzBuzz, FizzBuzz, or the number if not. That's high context, meaning the actor we are communicating with must have the context, a high amount of context, to understand what FizzBuzz, fizz, or buzz means. And in preparing for this talk, I can tell you, my wife didn't understand what FizzBuzz was, and when I was telling her that I was going to talk about fizz and buzz to 150 people, I could perceive the anxiety on her face. And so you build a ground truth data set. Ground truth data set has samples and expectations. The closer you can get to a deterministic expectation, the easier it's going to be to climb that hill. Because you don't also have a problem of an LLM as a judge, which also needs its own ground truth data in order to empirically evaluate how good that judge is. Otherwise, it's just adding noise. And so how did this prompt do at FizzBuzz? Not very well. Llama 3.2 is a model I can run on this Intel based laptop. You can brew, install Ollama, and then basically like Ollama serve Llama, something like that. I said Ollama a lot, but it is very close to that. Here's another prompt I tried. This one did a little better. See, it uses lower context because it provides some of the context of what FizzBuzz is. Divisible by both 3 and 5 is FizzBuzz. Fizz if only 3. These are the expectations. It doesn't all need to be regular expressions. Agents will write you this stuff for almost free. Here's one that Gemini, I went into Google. You know, Google these days, they don't do search, right? They get you right into their Gemini thing. And then very quickly, I was taking turns with the Gemini model, and I was like, I have a Llama installed. How do I actually use it? Because it's a service running, right? You make requests to it, and it started giving me stuff like this, and so I was just testing manually, right? Like I was running it once, and did I get it right? Well, you can't ship on that. That's a vibe. And so this one, I thought, okay, this will be nice and clean. But we're asking it to do 2 things. We're not only asking it to fizz or buzz, but we're also asking it to encode a valid JSON string. And it was worse because it had more to do. It had more to do. It doesn't have the same kind of capacity as Mythos. And then I thought this was going to be worse, but it was actually better. The Yoda stuff, it seemed to handle a lot better than JSON. So if you can figure out how to parse the Yoda, oh yeah, I'm bouncing on. Speak like Yoda, you must. Play FizzBuzz, you must. For number divisible by 3, but not 5, say fizz. You know, and on. So that went pretty good. But I had this emoji. I'm still looking at this emoji with this mountain climber. It's not really a hill. But I wanted to leave you guys with a good prompt and ample time for questions or links or to explore this open source repo with all the skills I used in order to create this in like 4 days. So this is that baseline FizzBuzz that I started with. Actually, Gemini gave me one with 15 in it. It says, is 15 a FizzBuzz number? And then I elaborated a little bit. And now I have to double check the notes. I'm not 100% sure if Claude cooked this one to look so shitty, but I like that it's a 0 baseline. So let's see what lift we can get from climbing that hill against the same samples, against a deterministic eval. Well, we can get a 20% lift. Now in this case, I'm not testing all 15, right? I'm hitting the important cases. I've created a kind of training set, which is a subset. I can iterate on that quicker. I might have been doing this from the JJ at Berard. And so I wanted to make sure I could deliver this presentation. And so I focused on just 0, 1, 3, 5, and 15. So 0, I forget where we're, 0, why is it saying fizz? Sorry, I've lost it. Hang on. Okay, so 0. This image is wrong. This image is wrong. But here, let's take a look. It's getting a little bit better because there's more black on the board. I think 0 should be other. In any case, there's more black on the board by separating the instructions to the system from the user message. Now this one includes oracle framing. So you are a FizzBuzz oracle. Imagine the power. And that's doing quite well. And then this is an explanation of the iterations that Claude gave me. And then this is the final grid. And then I'm like, okay, let's start doing all 15. And this is the kind of stuff that you have to get used to combing through. Representations of the quality of your AI features. So if you want to relieve the uncertainty about if the AI tokens that you are serving your customers are going to build trust or break it, you need evals so that you can understand if you're offering a FizzBuzz product, how much black is on the board before you ship to production. These kinds of systems help make sure you're making continuous improvement rather than just continual change. I think I don't have much more time. But yeah, that's some of what I've prepared for today. So thanks.
All right. So they've extended our time till 9:30. Thank you. We have time for questions and then networking. So any questions?
There are some links. You like using your phone. Not that one, but this one. There's some links to sources, inspirations. Oh yeah. Please fill out the Rails developer survey. Like our earlier speakers, I was thinking about feelings, and climbing that hill was a certain kind of exhilaration, you could say, and at the top, I noticed that there had been a lot of feelings that I experienced, a lot of feelings other people were experiencing. So asking about that led me to Dr. Kat Hicks. But I also managed to get a few questions. Let me know if the QR code is or is not working. A few questions on the Rails developer survey about your experience with AI. The dozen or so people who filled out the survey I had on screen during the questions have an idea of sort of the Likert, the 0 to 5, strongly agree or disagree that are on there. And I think it'd be really exciting to see where the Rails community is at with how they're encountering AI and how their companies are adopting AI. And so last year there were like 2,400 respondents, and so it'd be really cool if we could get a sample size like that on the sort of Kubler-Ross or grief stages kind of questions. But I got those on the survey before I found out about Dr. Kat Hicks. So it's not her instrument that's up there. Anyways, that's a lot of detail. But
I have a question regarding what tools do you use to eval the results or like iterate on your prompts? Did you write just custom script or have like some other tooling?
That's a great question. I've seen a couple of things. We heard about prompt foo earlier. I've seen home-rolled solutions, often vibed. This is based on Ruby LLM evals. And so the only twist is, I wonder if, well, anyways, the only twist is that I've leveraged Minitest or my test suite as a harness. So I have a subset of tests which are going round trip through VCR, and then at the end of their run, and persisting the run and the results as YAML fixtures, so that I can iterate like there. But I guess the original design intent is to have like a UI that like a product manager could create, and so there's an engine that you can mount there. I want to contribute some things upstream to there, because I think the more we share we can go fast alone, but further together. And I think open source is a big part of that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm asking basically because in our production app, we try to make the model always generate migrations using Rails generate.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
We end up with just writing the hook that runs before the right tool, and checking if it's tried to create a new file in the migrates folder, then just reject the tool itself.
No, that's a nice
any skill, anything that we write.
Yeah.
Like we reach like 80% confidence that it will generate migrations with DB like Rails generate, but it's still have like once a week or twice a week generate write migration itself.
Yeah.
Faking time, faking timestamp, faking some other things, or not using the correct base class or something like that. So yeah, I'm just asking like because I want for myself to just run some evals.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe we actually can end up with some skills because like hooks are specific to Claude and some other things don't use it.
Yeah, great thoughts. Thanks for sharing that belt and suspenders approach to generation skills. And I too am really interested in putting some of these skills under evals. And I heard on the AI Builders meetup, it's a New York meetup, some of the Ruby AI podcasters go there. Usually 3 talks, less than 20 minutes. They just talk what they're building about. And someone who's going, I'm at a loss for names, someone who's going to give a speech or a talk at some other conference has a whole Rails template that comes out of the box with skills, but also some evals for the skills. He offered to open source that. I can't wait to get to remember his name and get that. Yeah. Any questions? Oh, comment from... Oh, hey, Chris.
You took so much time pulling together a really beautiful, awesome presentation. I just wanted to stand up and compliment you and say, like, that got my attention. It was the only time most people weren't looking at their phones. It was real and it was handcrafted. It was funny and technical. It was about open source. When you said, if you care about whether the tokens you're serving your customers will build trust or break trust, you're going to become an evaluations-driven developer. I mean, that's some real shit. And I just really thank you for making it worth leaving the house tonight. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. You're welcome. I really appreciate that.
Hey,
Whoa,
I'm right here. Right.
Oh, hi.
Right, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Like I was gonna obviously start by that. The visuals and the various toys that you built to really communicate the idea. Awesome.
Cool.
I love that kind of stuff. The point that I wanted to sort of perhaps get more of your thoughts on, what about the evaluation driven design? Because you stated on a very personal level, you found yourself in a test driven development sort of space early on, and that kind of led your thinking. I can see that very much, and perhaps that helps you be more skeptical and more thoughtful around how you use language models. I was kind of wondering where you were placing the evaluation part in your story. Were you talking about the language models being evaluated? Were you talking about code being evaluated? Because I feel that most people right now have just lowered the bar for the quality of software that they want to serve. And as a result, it's just like, yeah, we got some evals going. If you hit the send button, 90% of the time it hits send, and 10% it doesn't, and that's okay because 10% of the customers, can go bounce send. So where do you place the evaluation is actually acceptable as like a flaky test, and where it's like it has to be 100%? Because that analogy of like hill climbing is like, yeah, unless you're at the top, don't fucking ship software. You know what I'm saying? So like to me, it's like your customers' data is gonna get lost. So right now the standards are lower. So where do you feel the evaluation thing you're placing it?
That's a product management question, right? They're balancing a lot of trade-offs, and like security, there are diminishing returns, right? It's costly to build high-quality data sets. And what I didn't show is that I have a ground truth, I have a synthetic data set for a judge on the thinking trap classification. And the hill it climbed, it only got to 17 out of 20. It did great at the affirming. I'm talking Llama 3.2, but only like 7 out of 10 on the challenging. And depending on your use case, that could be sufficient. You need that feedback. You do need that closed loop. And so you're asking me, like, do I aim for 100%? And the answer is, I don't choose the targets, right? I just try to provide the means of delivering as close to the target as we can.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right. I think that might be all. I'd like to say a huge thanks to Caleb. If everybody give a little applause. Thank you.